I want you to imagine that the school day has ended, you've left Mesa Middle School behind you, and you've headed over to Pine Hill Park for a walk in the woods. It's a cool day, nice breeze. You walk on the path in the woods and admire the trees. Maybe you see a deer, a raccoon, and I don't know, other woodland creatures. Then it starts to rain. But you're not worried. You know what they say about living near Cincinnati. If you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes and it'll change. That makes sense to us. It's what we're used to. It rains throughout the year. We have hot summers, leaves fall off the trees, cold winters, maybe a few snow days. Plants start to grow, and we start the cycle all over again. But what if that cycle changed? I mean, you're still here, no biggie, but what if it just stopped raining and got hot, really hot, all of the time? All the trees and plants and shrubs would die, then the ground would dry out and crack. Things would change big time. That forest over there at Pine Hill wouldn't be a forest anymore. It would be like Pine Hill Desert, and that wouldn't be any fun at all. Well, here's the good news. That's not going to happen. We don't live in a desert. We live in a temperate deciduous forest. See, the entire planet has these huge, major communities of plants and animals, and those communities are called biomes. Biomes are so large and so important that there are only 6 major biomes on the entire planet: tundra, taiga, temperate deciduous forest, that's where we live, tropical rainforest, grassland, and desert. Each biome is different and has different combinations of abiotic components. Wait a second, stop the presses. You know what abiotic means, right? It means non-living. So each biome has different combinations of these non-living or abionic components, like solar radiation, temperature, precipitation, soil, elevation, and topography. The coldest of the biomes is tundra. Tundra is located in the Arctic zone, and the winters here are long, dark, and really cold. During the winter, nights can last for weeks with the sun barely rising, and the temperature can drop to negative 94 degrees Fahrenheit. Most of the soil is permanently frozen. It's called permafrost. Get it? Permanently frosty? The tundra is the world's coldest and driest biome. Only about 6 to 10 inches of precipitation fall each year, and mostly is snow. Few things are able to survive in the tundra. Plants include mostly shrubs, mosses, and grasses, and while there are animals, there isn't much diversity. Only 48 species of mammals are known to live there, including shrews, rodents, wolves, foxes, and deer. The word taiga comes from the Russian word for forest. But even though it's the largest biome in the world, the taiga isn't like any forest that you and I are used to. Although there can be evergreen forest in the taiga, it has really cold winters, with temperatures reaching to negative 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and there is lots of snow, between 1 to 3 feet each year. That makes sense, though, because it's really cold there for a lot of the year. In fact, the taiga only has about 50 to 100 frost-free days each year. There are lots of evergreen trees in the taiga, and among them prowl fierce predators like the lynx, wolverines, and bobcat. As they hunt their prey of snowshoe rabbits, red squirrels, and voles, you might also spot elk, moose, and deer. That brings us to the deciduous forest biome, and it sure sounds like home to us here in Mason, Ohio. Warm summers with precipitation throughout the year, and winters that can get pretty cold. We're lucky in the deciduous forest biome because our soil is rich in nutrients and moist enough to support tall deciduous trees, which means that the trees can lose their leaves each year, like oak and maple trees. Imagine what Mason might have looked like before people came here. Tons of trees everywhere, filled with raccoons, deer, and even brown bear. But imagine a world with no trees, just grasses as far as the eye can see. Got the picture? That's the grassland biome. Settlers of the United States called these the prairies. So you know that old TV show Little House on the Prairie? Maybe it should have been called Little House on the Grassland. Anyway, grasslands can suffer from long dry spells that lead to fires and prevent the growth of most trees and shrubs. The good news is that those grasses support large grazing animals like bison and in some areas elephants and zebra. There are a range of different types of grasslands, so temperatures can go from very cold to pretty warm, and precipitation can vary. And speaking of precipitation, how about a biome that's named for it? The rainforest. We're talking between 50 and 260 inches of rain each year. Add to that an average high temperature of 93 degrees Fahrenheit, and you've got yourself a hot, humid biome. Here's a fun fact about rainforests. Even though rainforests cover less than 6% of the Earth's surface, scientists estimate that more than half of the world's plant and animal species live there. And because of the huge numbers of photosynthetic plants sucking in carbon dioxide and churning out oxygen, as much as 40% of the oxygen in our atmosphere can be attributed to plants in the rainforests. There are huge numbers of plants and animals in the rainforest, from very tall trees and vines to small shrubs. But because of all the tall trees, the ground level is pretty shady and not too many smaller plants grow there. Believe it or not, most of the animal life in tropical rainforests are insects. But there are some pretty cool larger creatures there too, like the king cobra, the vampire bat, chimpanzees, and toucans. Which brings us back to the desert. Remember the desert? This story started with the desert. Remember our world without rain and our very hot climate? Think hot, think dry, think no ice-cold glass of mom's lemonade to cool you down. Hot sand in your eyes, and the never-ending monotony of sand dune after sand dune after sand dune. Yeah, you've got it. That's the desert. Some plants and animals have adapted to the desert's harsh environment, but not many. Plants are generally smaller and have adapted the ability to store large amounts of water in their trunks and leaves. Think cactus. There are some small animals that make the desert their home as well, like insects, spiders, ground squirrels, jackrabbits, and kangaroo rats. But this is going to blow your mind. There are such things as cold deserts as well. Some deserts actually get cold enough for there to be snow in the winter, instead of just dropping a few degrees. So hey, go for that walk in the deciduous forest known as Pine Hill, and just be glad that you're not some kangaroo rat living in the desert.